called Le Filament. We are Odoo integrators. And I will talk to you today about how to translate OCA modules using a tool which is called Weblate. So the objective of my talk is to discuss how to get a multi-language tool by helping translate OCA modules in your language. So basically how you can get Odoo properly translated for the OCA modules you will have for your customers. So I have a few steps in my plan, which is first I will just make I know it's functional talk, but I will make a small translation to talk about how it's done technically and how we try to provide a tool which is called Weblate to help translating with the user interface and so on, so you don't have to translate in GitHub. Yeah, let's go. So basically, technically, in every Odoo module, so whether it's from Odoo, whether it's from OCA or from anyone else, you can get i18n directory, which inside you will get a module.pot, so it's the name of the module.pot, where you have all the terms that needs to be translated. And then you have one .po file per language with the translation terms for this module. So if you look at here, you have this is the POT file where you have only the terms to be translated, and then, for instance, in the French PO file, you have also the translation here. Sorry. Thank you. So basically, that's it's not really convenient to translate using a text solution. So what has been done to simplify translating is to put in place some specialized tool with a graphical user interface. So now we have two different tools. We have one for Odoo. So if you want to translate some Odoo modules that you think is not correctly translated or is not translated at all in your language, you will have to go to Transifex. I also put here the link where it's explained how to translate on Transifex, which is not the purpose today. The purpose is more to discuss about Weblate, which is a tool which is being used by OCA for translating OCA modules. So also here you have a page on the Odoo community website. And just for the record, OCA used to be on Transifex also in the past, but since 2018 we migrated to Weblate because Transifex wanted us to pay a lot for our usage, and it's also because it's not an open source tool, so it was not really in line with OCA philosophy. So we migrated to Weblate, which is an open source tool, and which we self-host on one of OCA server, and there is no license cost. When on Transifex, you can argue if you are an open source community or not, and you have to pay maybe a lot. So, how to use Weblate? So basically, you have this URL here with translation.odoo-community.org, which is the website where you can access the Weblate hosted by OCA. So there is that's the process on how to sign in. So you have to register with a GitHub account and then send an email to transport@odoo-community.org where you will give your GitHub account and the list of language you want to translate in. And someone will look into your request and grant you access with all the languages you asked, or not, but most of the time they do, so that you can start translating in Weblate. Okay? If you have any question, otherwise I continue. So all of this is explained on the link I put before here on the Odoo resource translate. So now I will show you how it's organized in Weblate. So it's basically what has been done is that we have two levels in Weblate. We have the project level and the component level. And so we mapped the project. We have one project per OCA, the GitHub repository. So it's per function, let's say. So for instance, I have one project which is account analytics, and then I have the version of the code which is used. So I have one project for version 10, one project for version 11, and so on. So I have a lot of projects because I have one per version. And then I have inside each project, I have a number of components which are every single module inside this repository, which is a component inside the project. So for instance, if I would go to account analytics 16, then I will have my list of components here. So I will have the different modules which are in this repository in GitHub. Okay? Yeah? So I continue. So now I'll show you how we could translate a module. So there are basically two different cases. One is the translation is already there and you want to modify something, or there are new terms to translate. And the second is the language is not already created for that module, so it's not yet translated in your language, and you will then create a new language directly. This is not working. That's not this one. Yeah. So here, connect to Weblate. So here I have lots of modules that I can translate, and I see the translation. You don't see anything, sorry. Let me come back here. No, over there. Yeah. So here I'm connected to Weblate, and here I can see. So I'm allowed. Here I can see that I'm allowed for translation in French, and I can see all the modules here, which are either translated or not translated, or how much they are translated. So I will go back to my link here. So basically what I will do, I will look for timesheet project here. So you see we have a lot of projects. So timesheet is around the end. I should find it here, timesheet 16. And for instance, I will look into the timesheet sheet here that I see. It's only 25% translated. So I can go here. And here I will see that what I want to do is translate in French. So I will click on French. And then I can see here that in total I have 822 words. So it's in French, sorry. And then it says that over these 822 words, I have 731 which are already translated. So what I can do here is to look only at the one which are not completely translated. So I click here, and it will show me here, for instance, how would I translate available tasks. So here I will say tâche disponible. I should look, and then I make save and follow, and then it will go to the next one. Okay. So here, my previous one has been translated here, and now it's called, now I have my translation here. Okay. What I can do if I'm not sure is that I can put here to be verified, so that I put a translation but I'm not sure, so that someone else can come by and say, okay, I agree with this translation, or no, it doesn't, it has to be modified. Okay. So here I have translated this term. I saved it. So now it's in the database. I will show you afterwards how it gets into the code. But that's this easy. Let's say I know how to do, so it's easy for me. But I think it's quite straightforward to translate the terms. The most difficult thing is not how to translate. Is more does it make sense in the context of the module? And is it because maybe this same string I would translate somehow otherwise, if it depending on the context. So what is important now is to know what is the context of the module. So maybe it's useful to have this module. So with Victor showed you before using the runbot, for instance, you can start the module, start a database with this module installed, and check where it's used, this term, so that you can translate it. Also, you have some context information here, but it's more technical to know that it's inside the model, IR model field. It's a field here, which is called available tasks, and so it's the name of the field that has to be translated here. So that's a case where you would translate directly one module, for instance. And there is another case I want to show you, is that here, if I go back to the project, if it's going to, come on. Here. So here, for instance, if I go to, where is my mouse? Here, timesheet name customer. Here I see that it's fully translated. The problem is it's fully translated because there is no French language, and that's the tricky part. That for some, it's not created. You have only English, Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese. So what I have to do, I can do it only with the 4 which I'm allowed to translate here. I can create a new language for this module. So here I will click on the plus here, and it will create a French translation so that I can start here with all the strings and start translating. So here, for instance, it's a bit more tricky because it's not only translating a term, but there is also some HTML tags around. So if you don't want to copy, so you have to keep the same structure, otherwise you will break how it works. So what you can do here is that you can click, I think it's here, and you will paste directly the source terms into the translation, and description I would translate the same, so I can keep it like this. So by default, when you do this, it puts you to be verified. So here I say it's okay. I know it's the same, and normally here I will get a warning. If I go back to this one, no, I don't get a warning. So if I go to next one, analytic line. So here I will say lim analytic. Okay. So there are only 7. So description. Here, projet. Ouais. Ouf. Qu'est-ce qui se passe? Here. So it's 5. So it's live. I translate this module fully. And now I'm finished, so it says, and 11% has been translated here. Okay? So that's, for me, it's the two use case. So either you have already your language, which is created for the module, and you have only to change the terms which are either incorrect or not yet translated, or you would create your language for that module. And then I will show you how it will push it to the code. Is it okay how to translate, how to use Weblate?
Yeah, maybe the question is about probably the next step, because as the example is translate directly with full module like in French, and I guess there's a process of reviewing, like someone else is going to review all your translation and to validate that, right?
No, it's actually my point here. Today we don't have a review process in place. So that means we trust you with what you will translate, because we are not enough translating today to be able to put in place this review process. It has been in discussion because the Italian team would like to add a review process because they are enough and well structured to do that. But most of the other language team are mostly some people here and there who will contribute translations. So today we don't have a review process in place. It could be one step forward. That's why we trust that what you will provide will be already better than nothing. And so it's helpful already, but really you have to be careful and look for context and look also to get homogeneous between because if you in one module you translate a term in one way and another module which is doing something similar you translate another way, then you will lose your users.
Okay, but you have to check box to verify.
Yeah.
So when you achieve that checkbox, who is supposed to verify it? I'm not sure.
It could be anyone else.
But it's not immediately going to be completed the transition till someone.
No, it means it will end up completed, but they will remain to be verified.
Okay.
And so, for instance, if I go back here on another one, sometimes I can see here that some are to be verified. Here, for instance, verifications. I can see that on this one there are four strings that have to be verified. So, for instance, I can go and say I want just to verify what needs to be verified, or I can go module per module or whatever. But yeah, that's a good point because it's actually today it's not the same today for Odoo depending on the languages, but for OCA modules there is no review process in place, and maybe that's something that should be added if we get more structured. Yeah.
For the different languages, you take French, you
Yeah.
have French Belgium, French France,
Yeah.
Canada. Is there any way to copy the languages that you did for France, for example, and copy them for Belgium? You have to do it virtually again because we have a lot of
So basically, if you get the same, how it works in Odoo, if you have only FR, it will be applied on Belgium, Canada, and so on. It will get if you don't have fr._ca for Canada language, then it will take fr. Okay. Yeah, it's by default in Odoo. Now, if you want that you want to change some terms, you have to translate in your own language, specific language, and I don't think there is a way to copy the fr1 in sub language. Yeah.
You have to look for one that you want to translate, just one term because it's not correctly translated. I find it quite hard in Weblate to find the correct term. There is a search.
Yeah, you can search here.
I don't know if I do it correctly or not, but I don't know if I can find the correct term easily.
Because normally you can search here, and you can say whether you want to search everywhere or you have some things here that can help you, but you can also say that you want to search in source terms or in target terms. So sometimes it's easier, and you can say whether it has to be the exact match or if it can be you can search in other things. Any other question? Yeah.
So once you save the translation, let's say I'm sure it's okay, so
Yeah.
I will not check the table. When I can see the translation.
Good transition. It's my next slide.
Okay.
Thank you. So basically, there is a workflow in place, an automatic workflow. There are actions on two sides. There are actions on GitHub side, and there are actions in Weblate. So basically, so in yellow is what you will do or someone will do in GitHub, and in green what will be done in Weblate. and the rectangle or what has to be done by a user somehow, and the losange, I don't know how you say, it's automated action. So basically, either you have some code that has been merged, a new module or some new functionality for an existing module, and there is a GitHub action that will check if terms needs to be updated, and if so, it will generate a new .pot file, and so that's this part here, and then Weblate every hour at hour plus 15 minutes will check if there are new terms, and it will import them. The same here, if you create a new repo, a new branch, or a new module, you have Weblate schedule action that will every hour at 30 minutes will check if there are new components to be created in Weblate. Then you will get to translate, as I show you, and then once there is this last action here that is run hourly at the beginning of the hour, but it will take every translation which is more than 24 hours late, which is done for more than 24 hours, and it will push it to GitHub. Okay, so that means that anything you translate, if you don't force, because you can also force to push to GitHub, it will get in GitHub like 24 hours later. Okay, the idea behind is to leave some time so that you can correct, or someone else can look before it goes into the code. Okay, you can also force push the translations. If you say I need it right now and I'm pretty sure, here you can do in maintenance, I think. I'm not sure everyone has the right here, so you have it takes some time to load, but you have a big push button, and you can push the translation, you can force push the translation to GitHub. And I put it here, but this is the way we manage translation in the code now, in Weblate module, in OCA modules. So it's not good practice, and most of the time the merge request will not be allowed if you push directly the PO file in the code directly on GitHub. You have to use Weblate, and also in Weblate, what you can do if you have the PO file which is filled, and maybe that's also answering your question about copying the language. You can take the PO file, translate in the PO file, and then load it in Weblate directly, and so it will push all the translations to. Some statistics. So today there are 876 projects and around 15,000 components in GitHub, in Weblate, sorry, and there are 151 languages. And the important thing here is that there are 8 million strings to be translated. So it's quite a lot, and I've been discussing over the few weeks with Weblate people, and they say their biggest project, which are Ubuntu and LibreOffice, they don't have so many terms. So it's really, we have a lot of terms to be translated. And I wanted to conclude on possible improvements. So we discussed already about adding a review process that could be done per language. Also, there is a new version that has been issued in August this year, Weblate 5. And one thing that could be interesting for us is that they have added a new level, which are categories between projects and components. And so we could use categories for versions. So we could reduce by 6 or 7 the number of projects by having only one project per repo, and then having categories inside with the versions. There is also a better search in the new version, because it was indeed a problem so far. We are also looking and waiting for a quotation for that, so to see if Weblate could take over the hosting of instead of OCA hosting it, because it's much easier for them to also upgrade the versions and so on. That it takes a lot of time to us for updating. Also, there are some redundant language that could be removed, and then there are 2 or 3 important steps, which are things that can help translate. So we have the glossaries, which are basically this term should be translated this way, and that could be shared, because today we have one glossary per project, and it's barely used. And the idea would be to have a project with only glossaries and to share them with all the other projects, so that you can use it. So it can help you to say every time you have this term, it should be translated this way. And we can go also one step further by using translation memory that can propose the exact string which has been already translated somewhere else. He can propose automatically to translate it the same way so that it gets more homogeneous. But today it's not the case, and the last step we could go forward with is getting automatic translation. That could be from the translation memory, or that could be from a third party that we have to pay, translation tool like DeepL, Google Translate, or whatever, and that could provide either suggestion or directly the translation, and maybe mark them all to be verified, and then the work will be more to verify them than to make the translations. But that's something we need to discuss on how to put this in place, who will pay, and so on. I'm finished. I think I'm over the time already, but if you have one question, we can discuss afterwards.